Hey everyone, Logan here. If you've been following my channel, then you know that I've been thinking about ways to cut out things I don't want and be more focused on the things I really care about. So that means saving more money by cutting spending, saving more time by avoiding distractions, and obviously saving space by clearing out things I don't really need. You may have seen my recent video on things you should get rid of around the house. Personally, once I get rid of some of the stuff in my house, then I have an easier time managing whatever's left. If you have a lot of clutter, if you have a lot of things lying around, then it's easy to lose track of what you need to fix up and what you need to replace. So in this video, I want to go through 7 things in your home that are useful, but that you might want to replace immediately. Number 1, water filters. First one is water filters. You probably know that your Brita filter or any other kind of disposable filter isn't going to last forever, but if you're not making a point to get new ones and switch them out, then you could easily go several months without replacing your filter. Brita filters, for example, are only designed to filter around 40 gallons of water, so obviously the replacement schedule is going to depend on how much water you drink, but on average, they say you need to put in a new filter about once every 2 months. That can vary if you have another kind of filter or if you have a exceptionally large family or something like this. But the point is that this isn't something you want to forget about for very long. To be fair, you probably don't need a water filter, strictly speaking. Yes, there are sometimes problems with water quality in certain locations, especially in rural areas. But overall, the science says that more than 90% of American tap water is totally safe to drink. So as long as the water is safe, you don't really need a filter unless you just like the taste. But if you want filtered water, then you need to get in the habit of replacing your filter consistently. Number 2, sponges. Sponges are another item that you might not necessarily realize it needs to be replaced. Okay, maybe it will eventually smell bad or you'll start to see mold or something, but hopefully you remember to get a new one before you reach that point. Obviously, sponges are like water filters in that they might last for more or less time depending on how much you use them and how well you rinse your dishes before you wash them. Good housekeeping says you should switch sponges out every 2 to 3 weeks. There are even some studies saying you should replace your sponge every single week. I am guilty of not doing that. It's probably not going to hurt you to wait longer than a week, but personally, I wouldn't push it longer than 2-3 weeks, maybe a month, unless you weren't going through that many dishes. Some people try to clean their sponges by microwaving them or disinfecting them in boiling water, but there's not much evidence that these are going to get rid of enough bacteria to actually make them last longer. So put something on your calendar, set a reminder on your phone, whatever. Just make sure to replace your sponges, let's say maybe at least once a month. Number 3, toothbrushes. Just like a sponge is gradually picking up germs and bacteria from the water and the dishes you're washing, your toothbrush isn't going to stay clean forever either. So even if there isn't any visible buildup, even if it looks totally fine from the outside, you still need to remember to switch it out for the sake of your dental hygiene. Fortunately, this isn't like sponges and water filters, which depend on your usage. At least I hope everyone out there is brushing at least twice a day. So there's kind of that metric. And assuming that's the case, then your toothbrush is only going to last around 3 months. Now, if you use an electric toothbrush like I do, then you can buy the body once and then just replace the head as needed. But either way, I would recommend the same thing I recommended for sponges. If you don't set a specific date on your calendar, there's a good chance you'll forget about replacing it. At least that's been true in my experience. It's a lot easier to just mark it on your schedule, your calendar, your Google Calendar, whatever, and get a reminder when it's time to pick up a new toothbrush. Number 4, cutting boards. Okay, most people know that they need to replace their water filters, sponges, and toothbrushes eventually. Sure, you might forget and procrastinate, but you're at least generally aware that these things don't last forever. On the other hand, cutting boards aren't quite as obvious. You probably don't replace your plates and bowls that often unless they break, but your cutting board is a little different. Now, the best practices for replacing your cutting board are going to depend on how often you use it. No surprises there, what you're cutting, and of course the board's material. If you have a wooden cutting board, for example, it's probably going to get some grooves over time, and those grooves are prime spots for bacteria to breed. Some plastic cutting boards are going to have the same problem. Yes, you can throw them in the dishwasher, but that's probably not going to cut it for bacteria that's stuck beneath the surface. And beyond the sanitary concerns, those grooves, warps, and other imperfections are also going to impact your ability to cut consistently, which obviously introduces a whole other kind of risk into using an old cutting board. So there isn't necessarily a set rule about how often you need to replace your cutting board, and in this case, you might actually be able to extend the durability of your board by sanding it every few months to get rid of those inconsistencies and recover the smooth surface mattress it came with. But again, if you're noticing a lot of deep grooves in your cutting board, you might want to think about switching it out just to be safe. Number 5, bedding. All right, the next one is bedding. You should try to wash your bedding around once every 2 weeks, but unfortunately, your sheets, pillowcases, and even your mattress are going to need to be replaced over time. So just as clothes are going to deteriorate over time from wear and tear and from going through the wash, your sheets and pillowcases aren't going to stay in perfect condition forever. The exact length of time is hard to say, because it's going to depend on the specific material, but you can usually tell that they're beginning to wear down when they start to lose their color or their texture. That's probably going to start around 2 to 3 years after you get your sheets and pillowcases. And along with those, your pillow itself has a limited lifespan. Again, this completely depends on the material. For example, a high quality down pillow might last 10 years or more, but on the other hand, a regular synthetic pillow probably isn't going to last much longer than 1 or 2 years. So even though a down pillow sounds more expensive, in the long run, it might end up being more affordable since you would have gone through a lot of synthetic pillows over the lifespan of a single down pillow. Finally, I want to bring up mattresses. Okay, they're going to last a lot longer than a pillow or a pillowcase, most likely, but they still need to be replaced every 10 years or even a little more frequently. So it's not like you need to keep buying new bedding all the time, but at the same time, you want to have an idea of how long you've had these items and when it's time to replace them, both for sanitary reasons and just to get a better night's sleep. Number 6, mops. Your mop is coming into contact with everything on your floor. It's picking up a lot of dirt and debris and bacteria of all kinds, and you don't want to keep cleaning with the same mop year after year after it's been carrying all that stuff. So the first thing you can do to keep it clean is to make sure to rinse it off really thoroughly every time you finish cleaning. This gets as much of the grime off as possible, and it will also remove any soap that's stuck to the threads. Some mops can actually go in your washing machine. You can put your mop on a quick cycle with hot water just to remove more bacteria, but even if your mop is not machine washable, you can still keep it reasonably clean with a mixture of bleach and water. And of course, you want to be really careful to dry it all the way out before storage so that there isn't any excess moisture. Okay, if you do all that, you should be able to make your mop a little more durable, but you still need to periodically replace the head. You can probably eyeball this in some cases. You'll know it's time to switch out your mop head if it starts to look dirty or worn out. Some people estimate that this will happen after just 15 or 30 washes for a regular cotton mop. Now that might be a little excessive. I would probably feel okay about 30 or 40 washes as long as I'm not cleaning anything really gross and I don't notice any obvious buildup on the mop, but still, you wouldn't want to wait much longer. Now, to be fair, you might have a microfiber mop. They're usually a little more expensive than cotton mops, but they can also last for hundreds of washes instead of just 30 or 40. So if you'd rather not deal with replacing your mop as often, you can just invest in a microfiber mop and pay a little more upfront to avoid the extra cost and the extra hassle of switching out cotton mop heads. Number 7, air filters. In the same way that your water filter is pulling contaminants out of your water, your air filter is pulling particles out of the air and improving the air quality in your house or your apartment. Unsurprisingly, that means those particles are going to build up in the filter over time. You probably don't pay much attention to your air filter, but if you let that debris accumulate, then it's not going to be able to filter the air as efficiently. Now, if you haven't even thought about replacing your filter in a while, you might think you can just replace it once and not think about it until this time next year or something like that. And okay, something is better than nothing. At least you're switching it out sometimes, but a lot of folks don't realize how often these filters actually need to be changed in order to optimize performance. Of course, this is going to depend on the size of your home, whether you have pets, what kind of air filter you have, etc. But a good rule of thumb is that you should switch your home air filter at least once every 90 days. And even though that might sound expensive, in a lot of cases you can actually save money by replacing your filter more often, because that will help your air conditioner run more efficiently, which means you'll save money on your electric bill and on any AC repairs. So this is one of those situations where spending a little bit more in the short term can actually pay off in other ways later on. All right, everybody, those are 7 household items you might want to replace immediately. Can you think of any others? Let me know in the comments below. Let everybody else know in the comments your wisdom, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.